there, this is Vahid from VRF Education channel, and welcome to another session on Qt programming. In this session, we are going to learn how we can use QSerialPort in our application. QSerialPort is the class that is responsible for working with serial port on our computers. Serial port is an old way that we can use to communicate with devices, and nowadays it's used widely when we want to work with different type of devices. It's very simple, and we can use it to communicate with devices and send commands to those devices or get feedback from devices. So we need to be able to work with this capability in our application. Let's go to Qt Creator and start using this feature in practice. Okay, before starting development process, we need to provide some prerequisites. We need a serial port driver. So right now, I don't have any serial port on my laptop, real serial port, and in addition to that, I don't have any device to communicate with on serial port. So for this purpose, I'm going to simulate this process using virtual serial port. Using this application, we can create two virtual serial port, a pair of serial port on my laptop, and I'm able to work with those ports in my application. And also I'm going to use Hercules, a simulator or a third-party application to connect to my application just for test purposes. So let's start with virtual serial port. If you open this application, there's a bunch of options here. We are going to create a pair of serial ports. So it says I'm going to create a COM1 that connects to COM2. So just let the other settings as default and press create. Here we have two serial ports. These are virtual ports on my laptop, so I can make use of them. No, I don't need to update the software right now. And that's it. So let's open Hercules to see if these two ports works or not. I'm going to open one into Hercules. Going to serial port, I'm going to open this one on port 2 or COM2 and opening this one on COM1. That's it. Those ports opened, and if I press something, for example, hello world, and press send, you can see it received here, and also hello again, and send it. So we have a two-way connection right now on serial port simulator. Let's go to Qt and see how we can make use of these ports to transfer data. Okay, in Qt Creator, I create a new widget application, a Qt widget application. The name is Serial Port Sample. And if you want to work with serial port, just like database or the other things, you need to add it to your dot profile. So here I'm going to say I'm going to work with serial port. And if you run qmake, I'm going to save it and run qmake. It's going to show you unknown modules in Qt serial port. Because by default, I forgot to install it. If you're same as me, just open Qt maintenance application, and here inside add remove components inside Qt. My current version is 6.3.2. Go down into additional libraries and select serial ports. Yeah, that's it. Okay, just select serial bus also and press next. Update. So I'm gonna wait until update happen, and then I'm gonna be with you very soon. Okay, the installation complete and said restarts. Let's press restart, see what happened. Okay, it's going to the first page, so I don't need to add anything. Well, let's pause ILO. I forgot to pause it. Do you want? Yeah, I'm gonna close it. Okay, let's see what's happened. I'm gonna run qmake one more time, and this time, yeah, we are able to work with serial port. So this is the basic installation that you need to have to work with serial port in Qt. Okay, let's go to our main window.cpp file and start using serial port. And after doing some basic things in main window, we're just going to reorganize our project structure. Here, when we want to work with serial port, it's better to include. It's not better. You must import QSerialPort and also QSerialPort info, because I just want to retrieve the information about serial port info in this form. So these are the basic parts. Let's move this one to our H file. All the header files should be in our header file. And the next thing, and also let's put a button, a push button on the form. So I'm gonna say ports for right now. I just want to print all the ports that we have between ports info. So I'm gonna go to click the start for this one, and using QSerialPort info, this class, we're gonna retrieve information about our ports that installed on this computer right now. So if I just put a scope operator, you can see we have available ports here, and it's going to return a list of QSerialPort info. Let's see what we have here. I'm going to say for, using for each iteration, auto port ampersand port in QSerialPort info available ports. Okay, I want to iterate over these ports and just print the port name to the output. That's it. And also let's bring qdebug. Let's see what we have. I'm going to run the application for the first time, and it might take a couple of seconds to build the project. So here it is. If I click it, you can see we have two ports, COM1 and COM2, two virtual ports that I created just before creating this application. Now let's see how we can connect to the other ports on Hercules. In Hercules, I'm gonna open port COM1, okay, and these are some basic configuration, for example, baud rate, data size, parity, and your device, any device that you want to connect to, have a catalog that mentions these settings inside it. So you should be aware about these settings. So these are defaults. So I'm gonna open port COM1, and inside our application, I want to just open on port COM2 and try to communicate with COM1. So we can do this by default. For example, I'm gonna, this is the port. Let's see. I'm going to add a combo box. Let's see, where's combo box? Yeah, a combo box on the form, and I'm gonna add all those ports inside this combo box. So I'm going to change it to CMB ports, CMB ports, and then using the ports inside this combo box, I'm trying to open a port. And let's add another button. This should be open. Open btn open port. So let's also grab this port and create a private method, void load ports, paste it here, and inside the constructor I'm gonna say load ports. So I'm going to load ports this time inside instead of printing them in the output, I'm gonna add it to combo box on the form. First, let's build the application and let Qt Creator know about the change inside our UI. So I'm gonna say UI.cmb ports dot add item, and I'm gonna say add the port name to the combo box. Let's run the application and see what we have. So here we have COM1 and COM2. That's it. And also let's change the height of the form a little bit. So that's it. And inside the open, I'm going to use this port name and some default settings to connect to a port. So I'm going to say I have a serial port. That's declare it here, QSerialPort, QSerialPort. It's a pointer to serial port class. So, and by default, I'm gonna initialize it with null PTR. So it's null by default. What did it say? Okay, let's change it. Let's change the order, and here inside the open, I'm going to check if underline serial port is something except null PTR. First, we need to close the serial port under serial port.close, and after that, I'm going to delete it. Delete underline serial port. And again, after the if, I'm gonna initialize it again. Serial port equal to new QSerialPort. So we can pass the serial port info, or so I'm just gonna say pass this as the parent, and after that I'm gonna say serial port dot set ports name. Most important one is port name. So the port name is ui.cmbports.current text, and you can also check if something is inside the combo box and it's selected, then go ahead. Otherwise you should throw some exceptions that we don't have any port to connect. So right now we have it, and I'm not going to check this one. So, and again after that, underline serial port dot set baud rate, set baud rate to Q serial port baud 9600. For data bit, underline serial port dot set data bits to Q serial port data 8. And for parity, right now we don't have any parity on Hercules. Serial port underline set dot set parity, Q serial port no parity. And for stop bits, we have one stop, underline serial port set stop bits to Q serial port one stop. And after we initialize our port, we need to open it. So I'm going to say if serial dot open, try to open, and the mode is Q IO device. It's some sort of IO device, input output device dot read write. I need to read from this source and also write some data to this. If you're able to open it, else. In else, I'm gonna show a message. For example, I'm gonna say Q message box. Let's import the header file. Q message box, and here I'm going to say Q message box dot critical or error. Oh, critical, yeah, that's the critical. The parent is this, and the title is port error, and the text is unable to open specified port. And on the other hand, let's inform the user information result port opened successfully. Let's check application till this part. So we just open COM1 inside Hercules. So if I chose to open COM1, it is unable to open a specified port because it's already opened. And if I change it to COM2, it says port opened successfully. So it's okay. Right now we are able to transmit data to Hercules, and we should also, I think, copy this part to the structure of the main window. If serial port is something is created or initialized, we need to close it and delete it. So let's add something here. I'm gonna add a line edit on the form. This should be something like ln message, and this one send. The name is btn send. btn send. And we can just write something like this: serial port dot write. I want to write something, and the thing is could be a character string or a byte array or a character and the length. So I'm gonna say UI dot let's build the application. In Windows you need to build it. I don't know why that let Qt creator to be aware about the change inside your UI. So ln message dot text and to UTF-8, it's gonna return a byte array for you. So it's the simplest way, but it's not good enough because we need to check for port opening. So I'm gonna just say print hello on the form and press send. It's gonna throw an exception, and our application will be crashed because port is not already open. So we need to do some checks here. If serial port dot is open. So it's based on your application logic. If the port is not open, check if the port is open, try to send data, or inform the user that the port is not opened. So I'm gonna use the second way. If the port is not open, port error, show a message and say port is not opened. And after that I'm gonna set return. That's otherwise go ahead and write some data to the serial port. So let's see what we have here. I'm gonna, because we always want to use COM1 and this is the first choice, I'm gonna change it in Hercules to COM2. So we don't need to change this drop down anymore. So I'm gonna open the port open successfully, press hello, and send it. Okay, as you can see, data received on the other side in COM2. Hello. So that's it. Now, the other thing that we need to do is to receive data from our serial port. Now let's see what we should do in order to receive data from other port. For this purpose, I'm gonna add a list widget on form. Where's list widget? Table list widget, yeah. And let's try form. So I don't want to align these items. I just want to put them on the form. So this is LSD messages. And when data received over serial port, QSerialPort class gonna emit a signal. So what's that signal? Here, when I just initialize the class, I'm going to, when I opened it, I'm gonna say connect. The sender is underline serial port, and the signal is ampersand QSerialPort data. QSerialPort ready read, and after that I'm gonna say connected to a slot inside Q main window. Main window. I'm gonna create a slot named read that. So that's it. Inside the private slot, I'm gonna say I have a slot name is read that. What should we do inside this slot? So When we are here, we are apparently sure that the device or the serial port is open, but it's better to check it because the time between the signal emit and when we want to read the data might something happen and the port closed. So it's better to check it all the time when you want to work with the port to be opened. So I'm gonna say you can check it something like this. I'm gonna copy this serial port is not open, throw or show a message, and after that I'm gonna say on the line serial port we have a method named read all. Read all gonna return a byte array. You can also read a specified amount of data. For example, you can say to maximum, for example, 10 character or 10 byte read from our serial port. But I'm gonna say auto data equals to serial port dot read all, and after that I'm going to convert it to a string. Let's also build the application. So Qt creator, get aware from our UI changes, and I'm going to say UI dot lst messages dot add item, and I'm going to convert this data to a string and add it to our list widget on a form, and we will change the way for doing this process very soon. So this is our window, our application. I'm going to open the port on COM1 and let's go to Hercules. Well, it seems that I closed it. So let's open it on COM2 with default settings, and here I'm going to say send hello world over this port. So we can see, oops, hello once again appeared. So here you can see we have received hello world from the other part, and also we can send, for example, something like this, hello from the other side, and send it. So we have a two-way communication right now. Now let's see how we can send byte data. We have a structure contains some information or some commands. Most of the time we need to communicate with the device through a packet of bytes that contain some specific data. Now let's see how we can do this in a more structured way instead of adding all the things in main window. It's not a good way to add our logics inside the main window. Main window just need to aware about our services and some method calls. We should not apply our logics here. For example, the way that we create things or read and write data, some data preparation might need to take place when we want to write data or read data. So we should apply all these logics inside our controller classes, not inside main window or our UI files. So let's see what we can do. Let's close all the things. I don't need this window anymore. And first of all, I'm going to create a manager class for serial port. Instead of providing this information inside the main window or even in our controller class, I'm going to push it into another class. Okay, and then when I want to write to serial port or even read from it, I'm going to check if it's open or not. All of them are inside a manager class. So for this purpose, I'm going to add new C++ class. The name is serial port, and because I am going to use signal and slot inside this class, I'm gonna include QObject, and also I need to inherit from QObjects, and we need to add QObject also to our class, and I'm going to change the name in Pascal case so it's more readable for me. So let's get back to main window. I don't need serial port and serial port in. Okay, let's just use serial port. I'm moving serial port here, and also getting back here. We don't need this serial port anymore, so I'm gonna paste it inside the private section of my new class. We're also able to inherit from this serial port class and override the method, but I'd prefer to have an instance inside my class. And here, when I use this class, I need a method name connected. All of these things should be happen inside that method. So I'm gonna cut all these lines and get back to serial port CPP or H file. I'm going to create a method. The return type is boolean connect, and I'm just gonna receive port right now, qstring port name, and the other fields are somehow default, or you can just receive port info, QSerialPort info instance, and add the definition to C++ class. Here I'm going to say check if serial port is not null, close it and delete it, and after that I'm going to instantiate QSerialPort. This time I'm going to pass port's name. The things are here, and this time instead of returning, instead of showing messages, I'm going to return so we don't need else. Here I'm going to say return underline serial port that is open. So the result will be returned to the caller, and we need to connect our read read to some private slot inside our new class. Private slots, oops, void data ready. Serial port and data ready. This is the slot that we are going to connect when we just receive that over serial port. Something went wrong. It says what? Let's change it to connect to, or we can use QObject connect method here. This is better because we need a connect inside our serial port. And I'm gonna also declare a signal here. Data received. Q byte array. I'm going to pass a Q byte array to the caller or to the slots that are connected to this signal. And whenever we read data, we're going to say emit underline serial port dot read all. So this is our serial port, and we need to also create another method named bool write, and this time we're going to receive a byte array. So let's just cut these lines and paste it here. If the device is not open, we're going to return false, and otherwise we just write the received data as a Q byte array over the serial port instance and then return true. That's it. So we don't need to check for the port being open or some other stuff like that here. And also we should check another thing. If underline serial port is null PTR or serial port is not open, return I'm going to change it to qint64, just like the output of write method, and I'm going to return it. Write the data and return the output, and here instead of false I'm going to return -1. -1 somehow is the indicator or the flag that it says something went wrong inside this method. Maybe the serial port, maybe you're not connected to the device, you're not able to connect, or the port is not opened. And also I forgot to change this one to qint64. So that's it. Now let's get back to our main window, and for read data we don't need all these codes. Also let's cut them, And inside the serialport.cpp, when this slot is called, before reading all the data, we need to do what? I'm just gonna say if serial port is open, go ahead and read data and emit what? Emit data received, and the parameter is the output of read all over serial port instance. So that's it. If serial port is open, so we are now sure that serial port is instantiated because we connected and it's getting called. So that's it. And again, let's get back to our main window. This time we need to import number include serial ports.h, and I'm going to create an instance here. Serial port underline port. That's it. And what? So serial port.h. Inside the main window.cpp, here we don't need to initialize any serial port, and we load ports, it's necessary here, and we don't need to delete anything. Oops, we just need to move it to our serial port class. In the destructor of this class, I'm going to say, okay, check if serial port is not null, close it and delete it. So that's it. Get back to the main window. We don't need this slot anymore. Inside load ports, everything is just fine. We add the available ports into our UI. On btn open port, we're going to say serial port or underline port. The name is underline port. Dot connect and path the currently selected port from UI and pass it to the method. And we can also check for the result. If, let's check it is connected. If in else, if not is connected, Q message box dot critical this error, there is a problem connecting to port. So that's it, and we don't need else part because we're able to connect it. And on btn set, we don't need to check for ports and other stuff like that. We just need to say port dot write, and I'm going to pass ui.ln message.text dot to UTF-8. I'm going to convert it to a Q binary and send it over our port, and it's going to check if the port is opened and the other stuff. So I'm going to also save num bytes, number of bytes that written over the port. If num bytes equals to what? -1, or we can also raise exception from our classes. Again, we're going to show a message error and something went wrong. That's it. And here we're going to say we should receive a byte array, Q byte array data, and also we need to specify it here. And inside the constructor, we need to say connect underline port, and we need to use ampersand because we need the address of this variable, and the signal is ampersand serial port data received to this class, and the slot is main window dot data or ready read, something like this. Yeah, read data. Okay, that's it. So we have the same functionality this time. We don't need to deal with a lot of other things inside our UI. In UI, we just being focused on UI things and move the other parts into serial ports. Let's run the application. And also, this kind of oops, there's a lot of things here, a lot of errors. Qbyte array. Let's run it one more time. And now we can make use of this class in order to bring the other side of let's see what's between. Yeah, I forgot to delete this one. Inside the main window, btn port info. We don't need slot anymore. And as I said, we don't need to. And we can also move Hercules part inside this application simply, and we will see it how we can do this. So we run this part. So this is our window. Open on port 1. It seems we have an error. Application crashed. Let's see what's happened. When we called open, or we called connect, serial port, new serial port, and but let's send it in debug mode and see what's happened. I'm gonna open this one. Oh, let's see inside the main window. No. Inside the main window, let's put a breakpoint here. Go ahead, and here we are. Yeah, we forgot to assign underline serial port to null PTR. We forgot to add this line here. Now let's rerun the application. Okay, the port opened, and let's bring up. You can see data passed, and if I press send here, you can see hello world received inside our application. And if I run it one more time, and this time instead of open, I just click on send, something went wrong. So it's going to check it automatically, so we don't need to deal with that stuff anymore. Now I'm gonna add a form to our application as the device form, for example, to mimicking some device operations, and I'm gonna disconnect from Hercules, so we have both receiver and sender inside the same application. For this purpose, I'm gonna add new Qt designer form class. The name is device dialog, and I'm gonna change the name to this notation. So that's it, and that's okay. So here I'm gonna create a bunch of items. First of all, I have a list widget to show receive data. We need a connect button. I want to connect it to COM2, so we don't need to have any combo box here in order to save time. And also I have a line edit, and again another push button to send data. So this will be connect. This is LN message. We want to have two-way communication right now, and this is send. The name should be btn send. This one is btn connect, and this one is lsd messages. So let's align them and this way. So it's a little bit better. Instead of connect method, so we should go to header file, and here I'm gonna include our serial port again and create an instance of it, just like main window, serial port underline port. And inside the connect, I'm going to say, okay, go ahead and connect to COM2. Okay, connect to COM2. And I'm not going to show those messages. You can go ahead for that. And inside the write method, go to slot, and I'm going to say underline ports dot write and pass UI dot. We also need to build the application. So you can see we don't need to be worried about the other stuff like setting default parameters or check for port to be opened or something like that. All the things gonna happen in the serial port class. So UI dot ln message dot text dot to UTF-8. So that's it. And also let's create what I'm going to create. Private start void data ready q byte array, and inside it I'm gonna q byte array, the name is data, and oops, let's give me a moment. And here we want to say UI dot lst message that add item and convert the received data into a string and add it to our list message. So we need to do one more thing here. We need to connect ampersand underline port. The signal is serial port dot data received to list class, and it's a Q dialog or it's device dialog. Ampersand device dialog dot data ready. So that's it. And in the main form, in addition to main window, I'm gonna say include device dialog, and also create another variable and show it dlg.show. Okay, go ahead and let's close the Hercules. I closed it. So the application runs, and here I'm gonna say I want to open on COM2. Open, everything is just so fine. And if I press connect here, we forgot to add message box here, so let's do it in reverse. I'm gonna connect on port 2, and if I want to connect to COM2 here, it says there was a problem, and I'm going to change it to COM1. So they are connected. I'm going to say 1 2 3 from here send, and from here I'm going to 3 2 1 send. So you can see we have a two-way communication. Now I'm going to create a packet. I'm going to send a packet of data between these two forms of dialogues, and the packet gonna tell this device, for example, to turn on the device, turn off the device, open fan, and some other stuff like that. Let's see how it's gonna work. First, let's close all these windows and also this part. For this purpose, usually we have a protocol between device and our application. The device is going to provide a packet for us, contains a couple of bytes, for example, short values, byte values, integer values, and stuff like that. And we need to provide good information or good data. So here I'm going to create another C++ class. This is basically a struct. I'm going to say command struct. So finish. Here I'm just going to change it to a struct. Yeah, we don't need this stuff anymore, and also this one, it's not unnecessary. So here I'm going to say usually we have a header for our commands, a character header, for example 2 headers, and we have 2 footers. we have 1 byte. Oh, let's also change all of this to q uint 8. And also we have what quint 8 as command. 1 byte for command, for example 1 equal to a start, 0 equal to a stop, 2 equal to change the speed, and stuff like that. And what, for example, we have a short or quint 16 to data. For example, for command number 2, that is change the speed, we need to provide a speed in this field. Okay, and also let's so this is it. And we need another class, mainly a device controller class, to control the device. And this form gonna play the role for our device. So I'm gonna do a couple of things here. I'm going to add a couple of labels here. Device state. So we have nothing right now. And device speed. Again, we don't have anything. So LBL state, LBL what's speed. Now let's go and add a class named device controller. Add new device controller. I'm gonna change the name. Inside device controller, we need to provide some endpoints or some methods that other part of the application be able to communicate with device. What does it mean? First of all, we don't need to be aware of serial port in our main window. It should be hide, and we just need to know about device controller. So we don't need to worry about this kind of port things variable. I'm gonna cut it from here. We don't need serial ports anymore. And I'm gonna move it to device controller. Inside the private section, and also we need to have QString ports name. If you want to work with this device, you need to provide the port name or the port that we can connect to this device. And also let's bring the serial port. Okay. And what? So here, let's go back to main window, and this time we don't need to connect to device using this method. Instead of that, I think it's better to provide a method inside bool connect, and also let's save the receive port name inside a local variable. So we can do it something like this: port name equals to port name, and here we just need to say underline port dot connect to this port name and return the result. Try to connect it and return the result with the color. What does it say? Nothing. Okay. Let's bring QString. It's not necessary, but let's build the not build the application, because we have a lot of errors inside main window. So this time we don't need all of these codes. Maybe we just need to say okay, go ahead and bring device controller for me, I need an instance of device controller, device, and just call .connect. Let's also change it to a pointer, and here I'm going to say underline device equal to new device controller in the constructor, and not in the constructor, inside the button open port, and I'm going to change it to button to connect and pass this value as the port name to the device. So here we connected to our device, and inside device controller class we need to provide a couple of methods. For example, for each command it's better to have a method, so I'm going to say void, or yeah, let's say qint, no, bool. We need to be aware that the command sent successfully over the port or not. Bool start, this is for calling the start method or the start command of device. Bool stop, this is also for stop method, a stop command, and this is bool change speed. Here we need to have qint 16 as the speed. So these are three different methods that we need to have in order to communicate with our device. And what? Okay. Here we can create. Let's first bring number include. What was the name? Command struct here, and I'm going to create an instance of struct command. Command struct underline struct. That's it. And just before sending the data, we need to initialize it. So we can say underline struct dot. For example, the command equals to 1 for starting the engine. For engine stopping, it's 2, and for changing a speed, it's 0. I forgot to 0, and this time it's 3. And when it's 3, we need to say under the struct dot data equals to speed. And after all of that, we need to what? We need to send it over our port. Port dot write something. What was that? A qbyte array. How we can convert it to a qbyte array? We can make a copy, or what? I'm gonna create a byte array, qbyte array, BA. As you can see here, we can have a pointer to a character and a size. So I'm gonna say the pointer is something like this. Reinterpret cast to character, pointer to a character, and let's pass this the structure, address of a structure, and the length is size of what? Size of oh, I forgot. Command struct. So that's it. So here we just convert our struct to a byte array and send it over the LAN. Send it over a serial port. I'm sorry. So we can have a private method named void or qint 64 send commands, and inside it we just move these two parts here. And after initializing our command struct, we said send commands, or send command, not commands, send command. So that's it. We just need to call send command after each of these parts. And also we forgot to initialize header and footer. It's not necessary for this example, but in order to be able to communicate with the device, you need to do that. And we're going to say return result in comparison with -1. If it's something rather than -1, so the result is true. Otherwise, it's it's 0, not the -1, because the output is Q unit. So let's change the send command, something like this. So we're able to check the output, and if we'll see if we're able to work with this data or not, this class or not. Now let's get back to our main window. We have a device controller, and we just connect to this one. Instead of btn send and btn read data, we need to have another thing. So let's comment all these lines, and we have the open command. So I'm gonna create 3 other commands: start, stop, and what was that? Change the speed. And for change the speed, I'm gonna add a numeric or spin box here. So this should be btn start, this one btn stop, this one btn change speed, and for the last one we need to change it to spn speed. So let's create slot for all these buttons, or all this command button. So here we just need to say device underline device dot start. That's it. And we are not going into detail for creating the command and send it over a serial port and other stuff. This time we need to say device dot stop, and here we need to say underline device dot change the speed and pass spn dot ui dot spn. Oops, let's build. Wait. Oops. It says, well, yeah, we don't need to connect anything. Yeah, let's build it one more time. It's a what? Request for connect. Okay. Yeah, we don't need to connect anything again. And it says it's connected. Well, device. Yeah, we need to connect, but we need to use dash arrow. So that's it. Right now we have all the functionality, and let's also add spn speed.value here. Now let's get to our device controller class, device controller, device dialog. Inside here, when we received a byte array, we don't need to show anything in the form, or we just can say command received. Let's check if anything goes well, and then we get back here to do some other things. So I'm going to push connect here and open the device controller. So I'm going to send a start. Okay, command received, and command received. That's it. Everything is just fine. Now I'm going to do something here. When we receive the data, we can do it in a couple of ways. This is the easiest way. I'm going to say I have a command struct here, struct command. I'm going to change it on command, and also let's bring this header file. So I'm going to say we need to use memcopy. I'm going to say memcopy copy, and it says we need to specify the destination. This is something like this, reinterpret cast. I'm going to again change it to a character, and pass the address of command, and then it says what do you want to copy. I'm say data dot data. It's a character pointer, and data dot size. So that's it. And here we are going to have a couple of if and else condition. If command, it's not a good way to do this, but it's the simplest one. If command dot command equals to 1, then change the LBL state to start. Else if command dot command equals to 0, LBL state dot set text. What did I just write? So I'm gonna paste it here and stopped, or maybe something like this, I don't know. And if command dot command equals to what? 3, 2. You just need to again paste it, change the speed, and dot LBL speed dot sets num, and pass command dot data to this method. In order to prevent some kind of byte problems, I'm going to change it again also to QUint. That's it. We need to 1 byte data here. So let's run the application one more time and see how our device gonna react to our commands. So I'm gonna make it open it on this port, send a start. Okay, as you can see, the device changed to started, stopped, and if I pass 10, you can see the speed changed. Oops, command received, but I think we misses device controller for stop. Yeah, it's 3. Let's change it to 2. And run it one more time. So we're going to open it and also connect it, start, stop, and change the speed to, for example, 11. So you can see change the speed and 11. So this is the way that you can communicate effectively with a device based on a protocol or something like this. This is the best way that you can do this. And this part, because it's not gonna device dialog. Where's device dialog? Because this part is going to take place inside the device, we don't focus a lot on this part, but you can also change it in a way, something like this device controller, to create a class and manage it in a much better way. So I hope you enjoyed the content and well understand how we can communicate over serial port in Qt. Till next session and another topic in Qt programming. Goodbye.